Now we are proceeding towards our resource persons. Our first speaker is Dr. Nandita Mondal. Have you joined Dr. Nandita Mondal? Dr. Nandita Mondal will speak on her story as a working class woman, past, present, and future. She is Assistant Professor, Center for Labor Studies, School of Management and Labor Studies, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai.
Good afternoon to everybody. I believe it's a quite difficult time post-lunch after paper presentations. It's almost tea time for the people, and especially in Bengal. But anyway, I'm going to talk about the issue of women and work. And precisely, I kept the title as Her Story as Working Class Woman, Past, Present, and Future. Now, I must be thankful to the organizers first, and I will be taking you through, as of course, I would like to put up all those questions before you while I'm taking you through my session. Do we work? I always put myself also into that interrogation, as I'm part of that quote unquote woman as worker until my life, until now. And next I will talk about digging the past, where we were trying to understand how did we do, what did we do, even if we are saying we are worker or working class. And then I will take you through representing the present, where we will question ourselves that are we working? What is the representations? And then we will talk about the future, what we can do in future. Okay. So let's see first how we are figured out as women working class internationally. If we will look at it, of course, statistics is our first mirror that we are generally looking at. Statistically, we are half of the world population, 2/3 of world's labor force, but we receive only 1/10 of world's income and owns only 1% of world's wealth. Now, I'll take you back in 2011 census in case of India, that women are 48.5% of total population. Sex ratio is 940 per 1,000 male. I think that has been increased a bit in the recent census, where Kerala state registered highest with 108 per 1,000, and Haryana registered abysmal 877 women per, girls per 100 boys born. 100 boys born, 89 only the girls born in India. Now, if we will consider, this is the background or the scenario that we are, okay? So, if we consider health and well-being of women, we, of course, as we are the only species who can, the woman, the female, who are bestowed with the power to take the lineage forward physically. Infant mortality rate for the female is 49% national average for us in India, and it is, I'm not giving much of the statistics of entire India, but 62% is registered in Madhya Pradesh and 13% in Kerala. Now, how far could we live as women? How far could we exist over this, over the soil of this country? Life expectancy at birth for us is 64.2 years, whereas males registered in case of India 62.6% only. And it's a little bit, there has been some increase that has been registered, but it was in 2000, I mean, I'm showing 2006 data. So there we are generally as a background that we locate ourselves. Now, what did we do? Now, the very question is, how do we define work? If you go by mainstream economics, and then you will find it out to this dynamics of defining work. You will be finding this certain clause, which is, I mean, that certain expression which goes with gainfully remunerated is the other activities, and those are the activities are being termed as work. Now, according to that, here we are, women constitute only 14% of total employment in organized sector. Mind it, I'm talking about only organized sector, which is under the legal regulatory framework, okay, which is bound to offer the people certain benefits or certain social security measures. So those are covered under organized sector. And only 14% of us, of the total population, are into this sort of employment. Concentration of this totally employed women are registered in Maharashtra, Delhi, West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, and Tamil Nadu. Here, women workers and employees are getting relatively better wages. Standard working hours are being observed, and they enjoy the protection of labor laws. I'm not going to the nitty-gritty of all this. Sometimes there are a lot of anomalies are going on that we are going to understand in my later part of my talk. Now, the labor force participation rate for females across all age groups. Of course, here I put it in between 15 to 59. That 37% it was reported in 2004-05, and that has gone down in 2016 as 28%. But there is another catch. Rural women work more than urban women, and of them 26.7% of all rural workers are women, while only 60.2% of all urban workers are women. This is a very very conspicuous representation in statistical way, that it's showing a very it's a real truth. While the people are migrating from rural to urban and settling down, and along with the rapid urbanization of shining India today is registering that only 16.2% of all urban workers are women. Okay, so this is the catch number 2. Almost 94% of working women are presently in informal sector. Now, if we will go by time use survey, let me take you back to the way we generally collect the data, and we ask the questions vis-a-vis the cultural norms of giving answer to that and accept those as the authentic data until now, very recently, that the survey workers were trained to go to the people and at their homes or the household, visit their households during census recording, and they ask, do you work? Generally, Indian women they were trained or socialized not to recognize themselves as worker. And they generally say, oh, I don't work, somebody else in the household, preferably they will mention their male members as the workers and bringing the bread back at home. Although these women may give the hand to fetch that piece of the bread on the table. Now, while we started looking at it, and there was a whole lot of different changes has been introduced or have been introduced into this processes of collection of statistical data, it has been pointed out by stalwarts of women's movement in India that the pattern of questions which are used, the way the census workers are being trained are not very conducive to get the refined data, or the truth is not coming up. The reality is not being reflected. And hence, I think Professor Indira Hirve first conducted a time use survey for women. Because being the woman, many of us, we know that we specifically, while we get up from bed and we are going to bed, and even sometimes while we are on bed also, we continue doing one or the other work. Now, do we define those work, or did we define those work? Brings me back to question that in past, what did we do? And that was the foundation of time use survey, and Professor Indira Hirve in 2006 came up with this, the result of time use survey, first time in 6 states of India, which proves that women carry a disproportionately greater burden of work than men. Since women are responsible for greater share of non-SNA work, mostly in care economy, their entry in labor market is marked with already overburdened with work. Now, mind it, where we are talking about something more official here, that system of national accounts activities, those are having certain types of work already scheduled and attained or termed as work. Beyond that, even if we are doing certain work, that is never been considered as work. Again, the second catch is here is care economy. What is care economy? I mean, of course, for the woman, all 3 C's that comes with the tag of care economy. That is childcare, cooking, and cleaning. And continuously, since we get up from bed and until we are going to the bed, or sometimes the newly mother who are breastfeeding mother, they even on the bed also they nurture the children and they do work while they are almost sleeping and they're on the bed. Another thing here, that their entry in labor market is marked with already overburdened with work. Now, what is the labor market and what is labor and labor power? I think that it is contextual that I must explain here. Labor market is nothing but the place where labor is offering their labor and getting the opportunity to work to earn the remuneration. Now, if that is the market space, now what we are offering is our labor, and that is particularly the actions. But between the labor and the labor power, the difference is labor power is nothing but how am I negotiating while I am offering my labor in the labor market. I hope you all can follow me here. Can you? Hello? Am I audible to all of you?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. So then now let's get back to our work. Once we are offering ourselves on the labor market, what are we getting back? What did we get out of it? Women earn 57% of what their male colleagues are earning for performing the same work. Interestingly, more educated women are, more wider the pay gap. Mind it. Now, 13.4% of total working women force have a regular salaried job. Now, let me tell you one thing over here. There are many types of work which are associated with women's work. It is generally we club it like organized sector and unorganized sector. While we are talking about organized sector, it's working under certain legal framework, and where people, and then of course men and women, they're offering their work in the labor market, which is not being regulated by any framework. They are not receiving any social security, not receiving the, of course, many a times, although there are laws about minimum wages in different other areas that's supposed to be offered to the labor, but it is never been followed properly. So while we are classifying our work in different heads of organized and unorganized, again, the unorganized sector workers are being divided in many counts. I mean, they categorized in many counts like own account worker, family labor. Sometimes they're being working under certain people. So they are sometimes it's landless laborers. There are many types of activities are into it. Now, I think I am not, I couldn't just remember exact timing, but I could remember that there are almost 106 activities are there as part of unorganized sector. Now, the pipeline for women working in executive level, if you will go by the organized sector workers, you will find that 13.4% of total working women in organized regular salaried job. Among them, again, those are in the pipeline for the executive levels, which are much higher. There we found it out that entry level 20% women compared to 76% of the male. Like the people, while they're entering into a regular salaried professional work at the executive level, not at the lower level or staff level, with a professional degree, while they are entering, it's only 24% of women compared to 76% male. Then look at this. Women hold 7.7% board seats. And then there's again a catch. Only out of that 7.7% who are getting the entry into the board seats, only 2.7 became the chair. Now, why am I stressing on this? You know, in the organized sector, when you are going up the ladder, as you are seeing that executive level, only the entry point, we are finding only 24% of the women are working or entering. Out of them, how many women are getting the entry into the board? That is the highest destination, because the policies are being decided of entire organized sector or the business houses are being done inside the boardroom. So of these people who are entering into the industries, only 7.7% of them are getting the entry into the boardroom. Okay. And out of them, only 2.7% could be holding the chair. Now, if someone is at the board level, the person who is chair, of course, if it is a woman, she is having everything at hand to what will I say, to shape the policy, to direct the business, to direct the industry houses, or framing the policies which are maybe much more woman friendly, to create more avenues for the woman to be in salaried job, in a professional life, in the executive level. So it has the ripple effect. So 2.7 at the board level chair is very significant in that sense. Now, industries which have highest percentage of women on boards are basically figured out as technology, media, and telecommunications. Mind it, we are having many entry-level professionals in the mechanical engineering, in the chemical engineering, or constructions. But even then, we are not seeing many of the women in case of their presence in boards of the industry houses in these areas, or don't talk about the chairs. Okay, now let's go ahead. Of the total 323 total executive directorship positions of the Bombay Stock Exchange 100, just 8 are held by women, and that is come up as 2.5%. Now, I have told you Bombay Stock Exchange 100 is the highest level of representation where we can see that how many executive directors are there. I think total in our case in India, we are having at present 323 executive directors position out of that, and out of that only of 323, only 2.5% of that are women at present. Now, 54% of the companies on the Bombay Stock Exchange 100 have no woman board of director. So it is corroborating what we have seen in the previous slide, that this is what happened to our country, that the people who are entering into executive level, with them, we are seeing only 24% are the women in that case, and then going up the ladder, only 7.7% of women are getting entry into the board level, and there are 54% of organized sector, if you will, considering all the companies which are enlisted with Bombay Stock Exchange. Out of them, 54% of those companies are not having a single woman as their board of directors. So their boardroom is not having any representation from us, right? Now, while global average of women, now purposefully I mentioned this slide because if this is the situation in agriculture, in organized and unorganized sector, let us see what is happening where things are being shaped, are being prepared, are being taken decision that how the Indian society should be organized, how the resources would be used for the citizens, be it man or the woman equally. In that case, I should have titled this slide as "Women in Political Arena," because that's where we need to create more representation, I believe. I mean, of course, it's my personal location. So hence, I'm taking you through this slide saying that while global average of women in parliament stands at 22.4%. That means all over the world, if you will consider that how many women are there in their national parliament, you will be finding that across the world, it is only 22. Out of 100, only 22 are the women in case of different parliaments across the world. In India, we are out of 543 seats, we are having only 66 women, okay, which is mere 12%. And India stands 103 out of 141 ranks of total 190 countries. So it's a very significant understanding or revelation to us that at the highest seat of power politically, which gives us the space to stand up as women and claim more spaces in different aspects of our life processes in a geographical or geopolitical state called India. We are having only 66 women in our parliament after, on its 75th year, right? We are having Amrut Mahotsav and we are having only 66 out of 543 seats. Now, scenario in legislative assemblies of states are no better. National average is only 9%. I think I need not to say much more. Now, here is another catch. Conspicuously, Bihar, Rajasthan, and Haryana registered 14% women representation in assemblies, while Nagaland and Pondicherry recorded none. Now, I believe while I started my presentation, I have named some of these states as showing the very poor sex ratios, where we talked about whether we have got a chance being women to be born and allowed to live our life over this geopolitical state called India. But here in this, we are seeing that some of those states are registering highest representation in their legislative assemblies. Here, I'm not going to explain much more, but I'm just giving some references out of my experiences in across 17, 18 states that I worked until now in my career. And as I worked in some of the corporates also, and of course afterwards, right now I'm in my educational career, I found that many of the assemblies or many of the other government bodies where the women are entering the boardroom, really speaking, if I'm allowed here in this forum to talk the truth, that most of the time while I was conducting the programs for the board of directors, I found that the women are being escorted by their husbands. And while the decision making is being taken place, the women are moving towards slowly behind and trying to find out a nod. So that's the real picture. So I don't want to criticize the numbers, but I must say being a person who of course, I can't boast myself, but I'm trying to bring in a point that we need to understand that we require the numbers as well as we require the quality of that presence that we are making somewhere, right? Anyhow, let me go ahead with this. There are 250,000 village councils. Thank God that we are having 40% female heads or the panchayat heads of those village councils. I think that still is having a silver lining. Now I'm talking about the present. With all this background, what is happening and what is our understanding from that? What exactly affecting? What are the factors, which are affecting the woman labor force participation? It's the nature of economic development. How are we doing? How are we taking our economic processes through different planning phases, or that there are a whole lot of changes officially now in the planning phases also. As we all know, we have got new Niti Aayog, but there's a certain processes as a country we are taking, and that whether that is conducive towards the woman to take part or not is a very big question. Of course, the education, I don't think I need to explain it much more. Urbanization, age at marriage, infrastructural facilities. This is again a very big point, because even within SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goal, we are finding that more we are looking forward, or more we are trying to create the facilitative infrastructure for the woman to join the labor market or labor force, then it will give a lot of boost towards the labor force participation for the woman. Government policies, of course, because after all, we have seen that how our parliament is having very less women. So naturally, the policies are most of the time being framed to keep in mind for the majority's benefits. So more we will be there at the seat of the power, highest seat of the power, more we can create those policies which are facilitative for both men and women. I think there it lies. Nature of work and the labor legislations that we are having in our countries, how it is inclined to create the facilitative or not, facilitative situation or not, is also again a factor which is affecting women labor force. Childbearing practices, yes, I think now it has come down as 3 or 3.1 per woman, but previously it was very heavy towards that, and now I think we are getting educated, more our age of marriage is delayed, and the per woman childbirth is also reducing. Fallback support. This is again a big catch, because many of us, while we started walking the path of our career, we found it out that until you are having a very sound fallback support, it's really difficult to go ahead in this up the ladder movement. Leave aside the women in our unorganized sector, because there are no facilities of creches in case there are unorganized laborer women who are working heavily in construction, in agriculture, or any other small businesses. And technology too. I think we all are very much aware that there's a technological divide, there's a digital injustice which is happening towards the women. The best device are coming always to still now the breadwinners of the family, or not to the woman, and it is really difficult situation. So these are the factors which are generally affecting the women labor force participation. It is not at all the conducive environment, but I must say still now, right now across India, the picture is changing. Now, as in most countries, Indian women are constructed as the primary carer with responsibility for all reproductive activities, as we have already discussed about that. That's 3 C's, that is childcare, cooking, and cleaning. Our identities are always socially constructed as secondary, one step behind to our primary identity as mother, wife, and sister. And then again, we have to struggle with our particular class, caste, and ethnic origin. So this is again a double sword approach. Now, restrictions on personal mobility and visibility outside home also effectively exclude women from formal institutions of work, social and political lives. Here I mentioned as Sinha's comment, like cultural barriers to empowerment and emancipation are the most formidable obstacles to Indian women realizing their equal citizenship before this constitution. Now, in what are the levels that we are experiencing this? Those are state, institutions, or our communities, and the family. So all 3 of them, these 3 of them are the levels of the strata or the structures that we are always facing this. This structural subordination results in lack of our bargaining power while we are entering the labor market. So struggle to enter the labor market or getting identity as a fruitful laborer, worker, or the employees is always the part of our own living. So any attempt to break through the cultural boundaries or organize in groups typically results in disrespect, and sometimes it allows us to be harassed by both our families and communities. Okay, so it has been said by Professor Elizabeth Hill, who worked for a longer period in India. She's presently with University of Sydney in Australia. Now, cultural injustice coupled with economic injustice pushing women towards margin. It's always terming, it continued terming us as secondary existence, okay, and informal and never be formal, and it is not we but the other. So we are always being termed as, in the past we were being termed as weaker sex. Now, okay, we are giving some emancipation but with boundary. But now we should look forward how we are going to push these boundaries more. Hence, theoretically, and the way out is to work with our political agenda to identify our ways in which the struggle for economic justice can be supported by the equally important struggle for cultural justice. Okay? Because we are not only economically facing the injustice as women, but even the cultural injustice are also happening where we are being pushed to the margin as in our existence as women continuously by the social pressures. Okay, am I okay? Can you all hear me? Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for being with me. Now, this relationship, when we are talking about this cultural injustice as well as the economic injustice that is existing within our social systems or the structures that we experience as state, family, state, community, or institution and families, we are. It is being generally addressed academically in a very orthodox way. Okay. because many of our educational streams are terming labor as a factor of production only, right? Only as input. Most probably, most of the academic disciplines are never attaching the life dimension to the concept of labor in the production processes. Now, beyond development literature, if you will go through all these academic lane, you will find that it's the focus on, if we can go through Axel Honneth's theory of moral injury, it gives us certain hints that why is it difficult while we are being pushed to the margin and we are receiving such sort of dictum to conceptualize our life as women as labor. His conceptualization is capturing a distinct relationship between the individual and external environment. And he is saying rather than more economic injustice, cultural injustice is playing much more important role to justify the economic injustice which is being meted out to the woman to push it further in the margin. And that creates a whole lot of disrespect to the conceptualization of the woman as labor. And that's the root cause that women laborers are facing this sort of economic injustice coupled with cultural injustice. He argues that when people encounter disrespect and lack of recognition, their psychological integrity gets eroded. He termed this experience of disrespect and non-recognition as moral injury. Now, psychological integrity has become the focus of Honneth's work on social transformation. It is contextual that I should mention that Axel Honneth belongs to Frankfurt School of Social Sciences, where he worked in a very, what will I say, I think he worked in isolation, but his work, it's very fascinating to me, and hence I'm sharing with you today here, because he worked on the capacity of the individual or capabilities of the individual, which comes out from the conceptualization of the self. And that self is, it's nothing but in respect of affect, a person's ability to identify, interpret, and realize their needs and the interest. Generally speaking, while we generally teach in gender studies, we do talk, many of you may be exposed to that idea of practical needs and strategic needs to go ahead in certain way, and that's we generally term as strategic movement in case of gender studies. So it has somehow corroborated that, but Axel Honneth has brought another dimension to it by explaining the concept of moral injury, which is at the root of this feeling of disrespect and non-recognition, which is tantamount to create the hurt within the individual as woman at the periphery of the labor market, okay? Which is not giving her any space, or it's not creating the conducive environment for her to move ahead. Now, social acceptance as emotional being is an important aspect. So we derive this as inference that social acceptance as emotional being is an important aspect to enhance labor power. So while we talked in the initial slides that there is something called labor and labor power, and that is there is a difference between these two, Here now I'm answering, as I have said that there will be in the later slides, I'm bringing this back again. So here we are trying to understand that how this labor power is being affected by the concept of moral injury, which Axel Honneth was trying to advocate. Okay, so he was saying where physical body is mere a tool that a worker offers for sale in the market, but actually in case of even gender studies also we talk about being and doing. If my being as labor within the labor market is hurt, if it is continuously received disrespect and non-recognition, then there will be a moral injury, and that happens because there is cultural injustice coupled with economic injustice while a woman labor is offering their labor in the labor market. Hence, their labor power is being influenced because of this this continuous disrespect or continuous non-recognition which caused the moral injury in them. Now, here I'll take you, of course, her story as woman, as her story of woman as working class, that what we can think of. I must accept that I don't have any correct answer. And I am just like all of you, a novice in this academic pursuit. I must accept that with humility. And I must say that there are maybe the three ways that we can try our level best to push the boundaries, open up the horizons to move ahead. But how? Those are again all three structures that we are experiencing since our birth. I mean, from cradle to the grave. That is the state, which is the geopolitical state that we are born, and in that what we are experiencing, that they're offering certain, there has to be certain continuous legal reforms to create the space, opening up the boundaries, opening up the horizons. Okay, so we need to do a lot in that sense, because we have seen that how we are faring as women in our highest seat of power, that is called parliament. So I'm taking you back and forth into my slides to complete my talk today. I think I have 2 minutes more time, right? Can I go ahead?
Yes, you please wind up.
Then societal relations, which is cutting across the class, caste, and ethnic borders. And these are the social experiences that we are having as women. Now, here also again, we need to work a lot. And the interpersonal, are we changing? Here comes again a catch. As women, how do we think ourselves? Are we confident? Do we have that guts to take it ahead? So these are the questions I think we need to seriously ponder over. Thank you very much. I believe I am on time.
Thank you, madam, for your very well-researched presentation on working class women. Now, there in the chat box, I have one question right now. You have said that more educated the women widened the disparity in pay. Anjan Shaha gives this question. He wants explanation of this point.
Yeah. Anjan, I think here I can tell you one thing. Being the woman, we experience that we need to take a bit slow run when we are going ahead in up the ladder, right? That is, I'm talking about organized sector, which boast of having worked with within the periphery of legal framework or regulatory framework. if we will look at the unorganized sector, I will take you to the reality from in there first. Have you ever seen women working in the construction sector? Hello?
Yes.
You have seen women working in the construction sector. What type of work are they doing? Have you seen that? Have you ever observed?
Yes.
Your answer was not very clear. I cannot hear you. Somebody please can tell me what is he saying?
On most occasions, they are seen carrying bricks and other construction materials.
Very good. Now, if a male person, okay, take it like a small village of coming from Tomluk or Murshidabad or Bahrampur or Bhagalpur or somewhere, if they are joining in the construction sector, what is their entry level work that they do, the male persons?
They are engaged as masons.
They are engaged as masons in the very beginning?
Oh, no. At the beginning, they have to work as suppliers.
Suppliers. They also work like the women who are head loaders, who are carrying the bricks from the store to the place of work for the masons to help. Is that clear?
Yes.
Now, if we will observe for the certain span of time, you tell me, have you ever observed the woman masons?
No, never.
But Sukumia from Murshidabad and Budhi Rani from Purulia joined in the same time, maybe at the heart of our Calcutta city, to erect a 20-floor building, right? What is the possibility of Sukumia to be mason after 3 years? And what is the possibility of Budhi from Purulia's village of Ajodha Pahad to be a mason after 3 years in Calcutta itself? Tell me.
Probably the former is expected to be a mason, but from my experience,
Budhi Rani from Purulia will never get a chance to be a mason. Why?
Ma'am, that I don't know. So far, I am speaking on the basis of my experience. But why not? I don't. I cannot explain. I cannot explain.
It's partly because of the gender disparity, gender discrimination.
So, have you ever observed, or please give some time to look at it. Please, what will I say? You just try to notice, because this Sukumia will be trained up under the wings of head mason while continuing his work as a head loader. But Budhi will never be allowed to go through that sort of training to be mason. And hence, she will never be a mason. She will never get a chance to get 600 rupees or 400 rupees. I don't know exactly how much is being paid on the construction site of Calcutta. They will never get 600 rupees or 500 rupees or 400 rupees. They have to be happy with 200 rupees and going back to their villages with that 200 rupees only. Now, leaving aside this,
please.
And same thing happened, because you have seen that out of so many women in the organized sector, only 7.7% are getting the entry in the boardroom, which is the seat of the power for the industry houses.
Yes.
And that too, we will be finding that many of the industries, they are putting their wives' name as the board of directors.
Yes.
So you know the answer.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Interesting
thank-
question.
Thanks, ma'am, for your clarification. I never thought it in that way. I observed the phenomena, but never went into deeper.
Someone goes there. It happens. It happens. It happens.
Thank you, Dr. Nandita Mondal. Thank you
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
excellent presentation and discussion.